This morning I'm on a mission to make my first planting for the season here in Tassie. Now it's mid-August and that is late winter here, so this is a very early planting that I'm doing. Now I wouldn't be able to come in here and rotary hoe if I didn't have this plastic over to keep the rain off. Because it has been raining just a couple of days ago, the ground would be mud. So first job is to get this plastic off carefully so that I don't get any of the water that's on it into the ground to make it wetter than it's going to be. With the plastic off, I do rake the residue off that hasn't composted into the soil. Now, quite a lot of the material, the organic matter that was on the ground has already composted down. There's a lot of worms and life in there that have been breaking it down across the winter. But I take off this excess because it makes rotary hoeing easier, and this of course can go into the compost heap. So with that gone, the next job is to actually rotary hoe it up, and it's quite nice. It's really nice soil that's breaking up well. So now it's time to actually break it up in terms of what I'm planting. Today my goal is to plant just 2 crops into here, but there will be some space left over. The 2 things I'm planting are broad beans, which will go in this section behind me, and then in the far corner there'll be early potatoes. Now I continue to grow about 3 crops of potatoes a year. The early crop is necessary to carry through until the mid-season crop comes in. So it doesn't need to be huge because it really only needs to cover us for around about 2 months, 3 at the most, in terms of eating. Production from the early crop is never as good as the mid-season crop. I plant the mid-season crop at the end of October, and it's the one that gives the biggest production, and we probably get at least 6 months of potatoes out of that crop. The late crop gives the least production of all, but it does carry us from basically through September, October, November, though the potatoes are not of the same quality. Now with broad beans, it's not a crop that everybody likes, but I really do enjoy broad beans, and I managed to get most of the family to eat them by turning it into hummus. So we eat some fresh, we freeze some. Now I don't need a huge amount, so I'm going to work out how many rows I need to put in here, and then how many rows of the potatoes. And there will be a section in the middle that I'll probably come back later and put something else in. So having decided on 4 rows, these are 6-metre rows, which I think will be more than sufficient for us. Broad beans are a pretty simple thing. I put a very small amount of blood and bone in, and the seeds go in, and I planted around about a foot apart. I generally do 2 seeds every foot, and then cover again with the wheel hoe, and they're set to go. Now I know some of you are going to say, why are you planting your broad beans at the end of winter? We already put ours in late autumn or early winter months ago, and they're already well up. Now there's a reason, and this is an example of the reason. These broad beans are self-sown ones. They've come up from a previous crop themselves, and they have grown over winter. Now it's a pretty warm spot here, so they've done quite well. I have experienced in other places where they don't do so well because of if you get an extremely wet winter, that's often not so good for them. But here they are at the beginning of, well, the end of winter, not the beginning of spring yet. They're already very high and getting blown over a lot. Now, they would need a lot of support if they're to keep on growing, but the main thing is that we've got a big long stem here, and the flowers are just coming up here. So the cropping is going to come above this, and yes, need a lot of support or it's going to be on the ground. They're not even, with these flowers, usually they won't set for a while yet because it's still too cold. There are some bees out today, which is good because it's a really warm day, but that's not that common this time of the year. So when I plant this time, as I have, I find that as they come and grow, the flowers start a lot lower and they set generally immediately, so that you're straight away setting beans up and you're not putting all the weight just on the top. Yes, they can still need support, they can still blow over. However, whichever way you choose to go is fine. Of course, if you were to take the tops out, eat the tops earlier, you could keep them shorter and keep the production down. I haven't bothered with these at all because they're self-sown, and I probably won't even keep them for any production. Well, I've had the camera on charge for a little bit, and while that was happening, I have put 4 rows in here to put potatoes in. I've separated out a small bed in the middle here where I will grow something else. I dig fairly deep furrows for my potatoes. I prefer to start with them deep, and I still end up hilling them, but doing this I find that I have very few, if any, green potatoes when I come to harvest. I've put a little bit of fertilizer in. This soil has had a lot of compost in it over the last 12 months, first with tomatoes and then with pumpkins. So I haven't added any compost this year with my potatoes like I frequently would. I've just put a little bit of potassium and phosphate in there to assist that root development. This soil is fairly low on phosphate, so you really do need it to get a good root development with potatoes. So I'm going to stir that in with the wheel hoe and then get planting. Now I'm planting these potatoes at least 2 weeks earlier than I normally would plant my early potatoes. I'm doing it this year because August has been warm so far. The weather right now feels a lot warmer than it would on average. Even when we've had fine weather, we haven't gone to frosts here where we live. So it stayed those few degrees warmer. Now, that gives me some confidence that I think this spring is going to be fairly early and I can get this early start. This location, of course, is one where I feel I can get away with it. Even if it turns cold again and we get a frost, I don't think it's going to be a major problem for these potatoes. It's very unusual for us to get a frost in September that would actually kill potatoes. It might burn them, but is not likely to kill them. And it's very unusual for us to actually get any significant frost in October. I have potatoes growing as weed potatoes over winter, which have not been burnt at all this year. So that's how mild the temperatures have been. We had some frosts early at the beginning of winter, but then it's been rain and this mild weather. So not a cold winter. We certainly, last year we had like a number of days where it was really cold and the frost stayed on the ground. We've not experienced it this year. Well, I'll knock that soil back over the potatoes with the wheel hoe. I really only just need to cover them. Once they come through, I will continue to hill. And what are hollows here now will actually turn into the mounds as the potatoes grow. The mounds in between will turn into the hollows as I hill them over the season. So that's great. I've got broad beans, potatoes in the ground. I've got another bed there that I can plant into. What will go into that, I haven't 100% decided yet. But the other thing that I need to do today is to get some more tomatoes started. Now I have one punnet that is germinated, which is early tomatoes to go into the greenhouse. That's Legend variety. but I'm going to go and plant some more for the main crop of tomatoes. So in planting tomato seeds this year, I have 4 different varieties that I'm going to plant outdoors. Now the Legend that I already have germinated is going into the greenhouse, and I'm only growing the Legend in the greenhouse. I'm trying a couple of new ones, which are these white ones for me this year. Some Brandywine Pink, which is a larger one. Now it might produce quite late for me, but it'll be interesting to see. It probably would be better if I was growing it in the greenhouse, and maybe that's what I do later. Or I might put some plants in the greenhouse. But so I'm trying that one. I'm also trying the Amish Paste, which I haven't grown before but have wanted to for some time. I'm growing some Romas as well still, and I'm growing some Sindel for outdoors. Now I probably will also grow some Tommy Toe, but I'm going to plant those later so that they come towards the end of the season this year. Now while I'm planting, I'm also going to put in some capsicum seed and get those started as well. Now what I plant into is just a premium potting mix that I screen, so to get some of the coarse stuff out of it. So, now, it's surprising how long it can take to go through these screens, but you're seeing this coarse material staying, which you wouldn't want with the seed growth. See how coarse some of that potting mix is. Yes, you can go and buy seed raising mix, but this is just a quick, easy way of making it. So, putting that in the corner, and I've got a nice fine material there. So into that I add some vermiculite, just a couple of handfuls into that amount. I don't really measure this, it's not scientific. And then just mix that together. Vermiculite just lightens it a bit and helps keep some of the moisture in. So then let's take punnet, fill that and tamp him down. Before planting, I'm going to spray them with a little bit of water, just moisten them down. And now I can make some indentations. I'm just using a pencil, whatever you like. And I'll drop some seed in. First one is Sindel. Now I've kept this seed myself, so it is plentiful. And a couple in each one. Cover those back. And most importantly, label it. I've got an old label from last year. It's been broken, but it'll do the job. You can grow 8 in these. I usually only go for 6. Got plenty of punnets that they get reused, so a bit more space just makes it easier to work with. Now this one is the Brandywine, and I don't have very many seeds, so I'm going to have to be a lot more careful. Now I've only used the 6 seeds, which gives me 6 chances, but I have another option for later if I have a failure. I really don't need that many plants, like 4 plants would be enough. Once I've got my own and keep my own seed, I can be a bit more careless about them. Next, I'm going for 2 lots of the Amish Paste. Again, the number of seeds is very small. On this occasion, I really do want that, so I'm going to do some double ups and just use all my seed in one go, so that every one of those produces a plant. And label it. Last tomato, Roma. Again, my own seed. half a dozen of those will be fine. Right, there's too many seed in there, but we'll get rid of the ones that we don't want. And lastly, the capsicum. So I'm going to put 2 seeds in each one to give me pretty much guarantee 8 plants. Okay, so these are all going to go in the house over the fire for evenings, and then back in the sun in the day to keep in the sunroom where they'll be warm. And I'll just keep them moist by misting them, and we should have some germination within about a week to 10 days. Well, that's the main task for today's gardening. The one job that I really have left to do is to clean up. Using the plastic as I do, and the tyres means there's always that job of tidying it all up and packing it away at the end of the winter. It's really only out for a fairly short amount of time, around about 2 to 3 months, that I actually have that plastic out over winter. But it's very useful and gets used year and year again. Well, thanks for watching. That's all for this video. I'll be back soon with another one.